Hi, welcome to this session. My name is David Cardella. I am joined by Ewan Cameron, and this session is about a brand new product that we have released for developers. It's called ArcGIS Platform, and we want to give you an introduction to it. In doing so, we wanted to discuss some of the trends, things that we had been seeing in the industry for some time now that really influenced and drove the motivation for the release of this product. So developers are becoming more influential in their organizations. They are either in positions of decision making or they are the main influencer for a decision maker. And developers in this manner are becoming quite disruptive in a very good way. They are bringing the technology that they know that they like, or technology from another project, or in some cases technology from a different job, a different position, and they're bringing it to the company that they're at now, and they are recommending and using it. So we need to recognize that developers are very, very influential. They also may not want to invest in a full technology stack. They want content and data exposed as a set of services, and they want to be able to use these services that's in a way that's convenient for them. They want to be able to quickly swap in and out services, perhaps use services from one technology provider and a different set of services from another technology provider. In many aspects, open source is important to many developers. It gives the developer the control and flexibility that they need during the development process, for example, to fix bugs or to implement new capabilities, and they're not beholden to the release timeframe of a technology company. Also, developers want to use their own client technology. Either they have built out a solution, they've invested a lot of time and energy in that solution, and they're not going to just dump that to rewrite their app, or they just have a preference in terms of the API that they use. So our product ArcGIS Platform needed to be flexible to that. In many cases, the form of the API is more important than the features that it has. What do I mean by that? Well, so for a web developer who wants to build in the framework or develop in the framework of their choice, could be Ember, could be React, that is actually more important than any capability or feature the API they're working with has. So we needed to keep that in mind. Ultimately, developers and decision makers want a simple and easy to understand business model that won't get in the way of their work. So to satisfy these trends, we have released ArcGIS Platform. ArcGIS Platform is a location platform as a service or PaaS product, and it's designed to bring our powerful mapping and location capabilities really to the global developer community. And so it gives developers frictionless access to our location capabilities as a standalone set of services in the form that they expect. ArcGIS Platform allows developers to extend ArcGIS in ways they are already familiar with. For example, ArcGIS Platform comes with our SaaS offering. It comes with ArcGIS Online, and it's the ArcGIS Platform that is used by the developer when they're extending ArcGIS Online with custom apps that they're building. Also, ArcGIS Pro also works with ArcGIS Platform. So the custom configurations, the custom add-ins that developers build often consume the location services exposed through Platform. So these are just a couple of examples of using ArcGIS Platform as a complement to other components of the ArcGIS system, as a complement to our SaaS offering, as a complement to our our software offering. But the platform can also be used independently from the rest of ArcGIS. It allows developers to build completely standalone apps that are not an extension of ArcGIS. Developers can embed location intelligence into their existing apps. And developers can also deploy our location services within their own infrastructure by leveraging a system-to-system development pattern. So as you can see, ArcGIS Platform underpins much of what we do in ArcGIS. The platform itself is made up of three high-level elements. An excellent developer experience to help you be successful and giving you access to our mapping APIs that come with the platform, or you can bring your own mapping API. A transparent and easy to understand business model, that's very important. And the centerpiece of the platform is a comprehensive set of industry-leading services that expose both content and capabilities. Let's take a look at these elements in a bit more detail. So ArcGIS Platform provides a premium developer experience. As I just alluded to, you can use the mapping library of your choice. So the platform comes with a robust JavaScript API and a set of APIs for mobile and desktop development, set of native APIs. But you can also bring your own API. So you can use popular third-party open source APIs like Leaflet, OpenLayers, Mapbox GL.js, and you can leverage the investment you've already made in your solution by using these mapping libraries. ArcGIS Platform supports industry standard authentication through the use of API keys. So this means that we support two authentication models now. An OAuth authentication model delivered through named user credentials, as well as an authentication model through API keys. And on the developer site, you'll find a ton of resources and tools to help you be successful. A brand new developer guide, extensive SDK documentation, and there's over 100 tutorials with a live sandbox that you can code against and see your updates instantly. In addition, a dashboard gives you very detailed service usage and statistics, and you can get started really easily, really quickly, simply by going to the developer's site and creating a no-cost, a free developer account. So here are some of the services that you have access to as a developer. These are actually the same services that have been powering ArcGIS for quite some time now. These are the same services. We're just delivering these in a form that makes it easier for developers to consume and use. You get dozens of pre-styled base maps, as well as the ability to style your own. You have the ability to host your data. So this is much more than hosting a flat file in the cloud. This is about creating a service from your data so that it can be visualized, analyzed, and edited. You can do all those things against your own authoritative content. And the important aspect here is that when you host your data with ArcGIS Platform, your data remains your data. We don't take ownership of it. You retain full ownership of it, nor do we collect telemetry information from your users. You'll get a powerful set of visualization tools that work against both 2D and 3D data. And and of course, some common capabilities like geocoding and routing. You also have access to hundreds of other layers, including demographic and statistical data, for example, income, spending, and market segmentation. And you'll get powerful and sophisticated capabilities like spatial analytics, image analysis, real-time mapping, and IoT integration. And finally, the third element of ArcGIS Platform is the business model. I mentioned previously that getting started is quite easy. Just go to the developer's site and sign up for a developer account. So in addition to the excellent developer experience that we just spoke of, the extensive set of location services, you'll also get a very generous free tier of service transactions to kickstart your development. So this includes 2 million free map tiles per month and thousands of other service requests that you can use for searching, for routing, for data storage, to host your own content, geocoding, And you'll find our consumption-based business model very transparent, very easy to understand, very easy to calculate and estimate the usage that you'll have. And because it's all consumption-based, you'll only pay for what you use. And in addition, you'll get a very detailed, or you'll get a dashboard that gives you very detailed service usage, something that we've added new with ArcGIS Platform. So probably the best way to see ArcGIS Platform is really to see ArcGIS Platform. So I'm going to hand it off to Ewan, who's going to give us a demonstration. Ewan?
Thanks, David. We're looking at the homepage of the developer's website. The URL is developers.arcgis.com. And on this homepage, you can get some basic information. Here's some links to common entry points into the documentation. A quick summary of some of the highlights of the features, ready-to-use services, very flexible APIs and SDKs. Of course, the very strong data-driven visualization that's part of all of the APIs that come with ArcGIS, the ability to host and manage your own content within your developer account, and built-in spatial analysis tools. So when you're ready to get started, you start by signing up for a free developer account. So if you click this button here, it takes you to the account creation page. It's really quite simple. You can use an existing social login and just link it to a developer account, or you can create a new account from scratch. These are the only questions that you need to provide, and we'll create the account for you. And with that account created, you can start to host content and use the developer APIs. Now I've already created an account, so I'm just going to sign in to that account by clicking the sign in button, and it takes me to my developer dashboard. This is, if you like, the home page for you when you're working with the developer's website. At the top, there's some getting started information, quick links to documentation that might be relevant to me, and you can see here there's a section at the top here relevant for ArcGIS API for JavaScript, and that's because I said I was interested in developing with this API when I created my account. So we start to tailor this experience based on the work that you want to do. You can always change that. Here I'll go and change it by clicking the cog button here, and I'll change it to perhaps Mapbox GLGS, and I'll update my preferences. When I do that, you'll notice that the information that's presented to me as a Mapbox GLGS developer is different. I've got links to location services, and I've got links to tutorials specific to me and the work that I want to do with GLGS. Also on the homepage of the dashboard, you can see I get access to my API keys. These are the keys that will unlock the services for me. So here's my default key. There's always one created when you create a developer account. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard because I'll use that later in some of the tutorials. Some information about my billing details, just a summary here. If I wanted the more detailed billing information, I would use one of the other options on usage and account. Some of the content information about content that I've got hosted here, and any OAuth 2 applications that I may have already created. All right, so this is my dashboard, but really what I want to show you next is the documentation pages. Now, the developer's site has a very comprehensive set of documentation. Here's the documentation page. Now you can see from this page, there's a lot of documentation. All the developer documentation is presented in this one common location. But to help you navigate it, there's filtering available on the left-hand side. You can filter based on the type of information you're interested in, or the platform that you're working against, whether it's web, mobile, or desktop. Or perhaps you know the ArcGIS product that you as a developer are working with. So this helps you trim down all of that information. But at the top, we always present these guides. These are brand new developer guides that we've created that present all the information relevant for a particular section, and it's presented to you written by developers for developers. So it really helps you get going. So let's say I'm interested in mapping APIs. So you can see here, it filters the view down. So the guide that's relevant to me is the Mapping APIs and Location Services guide. The APIs, well, they're web APIs, or they're mobile APIs, or the API for Python. And of course, the ArcGIS REST API, which underpins everything. But let's take a look at this new Mapping APIs and Location Services guide. We can see here on the main page a little bit of information about ArcGIS Platform and its relationship to location services, and then kind of leads you through whether you're interested in how do you get started, or whether it's the tutorials you want to access, or the services, or the APIs themselves. So let's click on the Get Started. Well, it's as simple as signing up for a developer account. I've already done that. And you can get your API key. And if you recall, that was as simple as going to your developer dashboard and selecting the API key. So I've got my API key. So with that, I can start developing. And here's some tutorials that may get you started. Some of the common ones like display a map, search for an address, find route and directions. But you can always look at all the tutorials just by going over to the table of contents on the left-hand side here and selecting tutorials. And this will start to give you an idea to the depth of information that's available. Tutorials for working with maps, tutorials for working with data, tutorials specific to certain APIs, tutorials on visualization, tutorials on search or routing, simple routing, or more advanced topics like find service areas. And there's even a tutorial for demographic content. And if you're working in a disadvantaged environment where offline is important, there's some great tutorials for offline workflows. So these tutorials are available for all the relevant APIs. And you can see here for web, that means JavaScript, REST.js, Leaflet, GLJS, and OpenLayers. For native mobile applications, that's available for Android, iOS, Java, .NET, and Qt. So there's a lot of tutorials to help you get going. When it comes to the services themselves, we've broken services down into these ready-to-use location services, base map layers, geocoding, routing, geometry, etc., and data services. Data services need your data to create them. And you can upload shapefiles, you can upload CSVs, you can upload CSVs with addresses, and we'll do the geocoding to generate the lat longs and create features. Once you've got a feature service, you can create vector tiles from that feature service by cooking vector tiles or image tiles ready for use in your applications. And then if you want to know more information about the APIs that you can use, you simply click on the APIs page, and we've broken them down into web APIs. Obviously, the ArcGIS API for JavaScript is the premium API to use. It exposes the most capabilities to developers, but there's some great other APIs that you can use for building mapping applications like Leaflet, GLJS, OpenLayers. We've got the native APIs for building mobile and desktop applications, scripting APIs with Python, and of course, the API that underpins all of our location services, the ArcGIS REST API, has its own documentation as well. So as a developer, there's many places that you can jump into to get the information that you require. But ultimately, no matter which API you're using, you'll be working against our sort of mapping services and our ready-to-use location services. So let's have a look at how we talk about maps. So by clicking on maps, you're going to start to see the structure of the typical structure of pages in this guide. We can see when we click on maps, we're talking about maps, scenes, and layers. And at the top of the page, typically there's always a live example. This is showing 3D, but I can look at the same content, Atlantic hurricanes for the year 2000, in 2D. And we can see it here. It's always live and interactive. If you want to see the code behind this live sample, it's as simple as clicking the View Code button, and that opens up CodePen. And with CodePen loaded, you can see the example, but you can also see the code required to make that example. So it's a nice thing. Anytime you see a live sample and you're wondering how that works, you can just look at it in CodePen. So we see we've got a sample at the top. Under the Get Started, do you want to know more about maps or scenes or base maps? So let's click the Maps section. Again, we can see the live sample at the top of the page. And then as we scroll down, we break it down from first principles. What is a map? How does a map work? How do layers work? How does layer ordering work? Well, you've got a base map layer, you've got data layers, and you've got graphics that sit on top of that, and they all get composed into the map view that's displayed on the page. Now as we scroll down, I want to draw your attention to this block of code here. This is a code example for the ArcGIS JavaScript API, and it's showing you how quickly and easy it is to create a map. This time it's just loading a base map. But if I wanted to, I can select the code switcher, and you can see I can display it in Esri Leaflet, GLJS, OpenLayers, or any of the runtime APIs. Here it is for iOS. But I'll go back to the JavaScript API. So more information on the purpose of the map view, and then as we go down the page, there's a real example with step-by-step instructions on how to do that, and then the code snippet at the bottom. So that was maps. We can do the same thing with scenes. You'll get the same basic layout of the page, live example at the top of the page, basic descriptions of what a scene is and how a scene works. You can see how it's quite similar to a 2D map, but this time it has an elevation layer, which is providing context for the data to be draped on top of the elevation. But it breaks down into the same set of content, and again, any API that's relevant for the code snippet is available in the code switcher. So that's maps. Data talks about hosting your own content, types of content that you can host, GeoJSON, CSVs, spreadsheet information, how data hosting works, how you upload your content, how the data gets created into a service, and once that service is available, you can access it within your application, whether that's a web application or a native application. So lots of great information on hosting content. But the chapter I really want to get to next is visualization, because this is a strength of ArcGIS in the ability to really create compelling visualizations that really make the data stand out and help build beautiful web applications. So there's some nice examples here, and it goes from just the base map styles that are available, and there's many different base map styles. And if you're interested on all the different styles, you get a list of them down here, and it also tells you how to customize the base maps that we give you to create your own custom base maps. We can look at very simple point, line, and polygon styles. Many of you will be familiar with these because they're pretty ubiquitous and they've been around for quite a while. But maybe some of you aren't so familiar with data-driven visualization. and the basic principle about taking your data and allowing it to drive the symbology that your application uses. And then it goes through the various types, whether it's unique values, class breaks, or visual variables. These are incredibly powerful and drive a lot of the more advanced visualizations that you see on ArcGIS. So it talks about what a visual variable is, how it works, and then how you apply it to color or size or transparency or rotation. So these are all given with great live samples, but also the code snippet that would drive that sample. So that's your visualization. And then of course, your some more common location services, searching for things, whether it be geocoding or reverse geocoding. And you're getting a pattern on these pages, I'm sure. You're starting to understand that we always start with a live example. We break it down into, if you like, first principles, and then we start to give you the information that you need as a developer to start working against the endpoints, some of the key parameters. And then there's always a step-by-step example. And at the bottom of the page, we always list the tutorials that are available. So that's search, routing. We can see the same thing with all this information. So there's a real depth of very general information that's pertinent to you as a developer, no matter which API you're using. This is just basic information that's going to help you get going and really make the most of the location services. However, if you're interested in a specific API, then each API has its own guide. So let's take a look at GLGS and its guide. So I'll click on the chiclet there, and it brings me to the Mapbox GLGS and Location Services guide. There's information about working with maps, layers, querying and editing data, styling and visualization, geocoding and searching, routing. It's all here. So let's just take a look at the maps guide. You can see here we've got an example. It's very simple. It's just loading a base map, and there's some information here. But if I want to see this guide, the source code, let's click View in CodePen. So here I am in CodePen, and you'll notice the map's not displaying in the main window, and that's because I've not given it the API key yet. But you can see we've got start of the page. It's just basic scaffolding here. We're loading in the Mapbox GLGS client libraries. And then here's the code that creates a new GLGS map and loads our base map. And you'll notice it's expecting an API key. So what I need to do, I need to replace this piece of text up here, your API key, with the API key that I copied earlier. So I'll paste that in. The moment that I paste that in, the map starts to work because it now can get access to the appropriate base map. And here we have it here. So that's a GLGS application accessing tiles from ArcGIS Platform. It's as simple as that. But it's not just mapping. Maybe I'm interested in routing. Maybe find service areas. So if I click here, here's an example of how to find service areas on a map using GLGS for displaying the map and using ArcGIS Platform's service area location service. And all the information to build that is available in this guide written specifically for GLGS developers. So that gives you an idea on the breadth, but also the depth to the documentation that's available when you visit developers.arcgis.com. But before we close out, final page I'd like to take you to is the pricing page, because when you're consuming services from ArcGIS Platform, you're potentially consuming transactions, and there's a cost associated with it. Now, a number of the services have free tiers to allow you to get started for free. For instance, Base Maps gives me up to 2 million transactions a month before I actually start paying for it. But if I want to find out how much it would be if I used, say, 4 million transactions, I could do that, and you can see that would be $300 a month. For geocoding, I get 20,000 geocodes of non-stored for free. But what happens if I use 30,000? It would cost me an additional $5. And you can see up at the top here, the total is displaying. And as I scroll down the page, that cost estimator is always visible. So as I go through my various options, for simple routes, maybe I'll be doing less than 20,000, so the free bucket is good enough for me. But for optimized routes, I think I'll be doing 1,000 of these. And as I do that, you can see the cost goes up, and it's always displaying here. So this pricing page tells you what's available in terms of the cost, but it also acts as a calculator, which is kind of nice. It helps you estimate your monthly bill. To see the actual usage, you can always go to your dashboard, and your usage would be displayed under the account section. For a detailed breakdown, you can go to your account settings, where you'll get a much more detailed list. So thank you. I think that's all I've got to show. And I've been able to show you in about 20 minutes a lot of the new developer experience that we've developed for ArcGIS developers. And I just encourage you to go to developers.arcgis.com, check it out. If you need to sign up for an account, it's very easy. And with that, I'll pass it back to David. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ewan. That was a really good demo. ArcGIS Platform also comes with other components to help you be successful. They come with a set of app builders that output web applications. You know these builders as Experience Builder and Web App Builder, but also a native app builder that lets you build and deploy an app to multiple platforms, and that's App Studio. So these app builders provide a low-code, no-code environment and experience for developers to rapidly configure an application, but they also provide developers an opportunity to extend these builders with custom components and custom templates. ArcGIS Platform also comes with a marketplace where partners can participate in by providing their premium data or their custom solutions, and buyers can also purchase these things as well as services. ArcGIS Platform also comes with a complete design system as well. So a little bit more about the design system. The design system contains a library of web components that you as a developer can use. There are certain design guidelines, design principles. So these components are there to help you not only rapidly build an application, but build an application with the similar look and feel as to some of the other web applications you see come with the ArcGIS system. There are many teams within Esri currently using the design system. You may have heard this referred to as Calcite. It is the same design system. And in addition, the design system also offers plugins for other design tools like Figma and Adobe's XD. So we've covered a lot of the ArcGIS platform, and so I'd like to summarize really by what's new. Most of you are already existing ArcGIS developers, and here's a slide that really sums it up. So ArcGIS Platform, we now, in addition to our mapping libraries, support popular third-party open source mapping libraries like OpenLayers, Leaflet, and Mapbox GLJS. So developers can take the application or the solution they've built with those mapping libraries and really with a couple of lines of code simply pivot from the current services they're using to the location services brought to you through ArcGIS Platform. So this is a real change for us. Typically, in the past, we have strongly encouraged developers to use our mapping libraries. Now we're opening it up to support popular mapping libraries in the industry, and making it as easy as possible to pivot to our location services. Emitting vector tiles through feature services is part of that. So as a developer, when you upload your data to our platform and you create a service out of it, you now can emit both features as well as industry standard vector tiles, and this will help with any developer who's using third-party open source mapping libraries, help get their data, their authoritative content into that solution quickly. We support an additional authentication method through the use of API keys. Now notice I say additional because we currently offer an OAuth-based authentication through named users. With the release of ArcGIS Platform, we also offer authentication through API keys, and some developers will find this quite useful where the named user authentication may not be applicable or appropriate for the particular solution that they're building. In addition, and you see a screenshot of this off to the right, you'll see in the developer dashboard detailed metrics and detailed service usage based on the services that you're consuming. Could be base map, geocoding, routing. You see an example of that here in the screenshot. You'll see exactly where you are in the free tier and exactly how many service requests over the free tier you've consumed, and how you're doing there. So detailed service usage, brand new, a great feature. The business model itself is fully consumption based. That means that the base map endpoints as well as the geocoding endpoints now require authentication. Could be API keys, could be named user OAuth, but you must authenticate yourself. And every service is now consumption based. And we saw the developer guide. Ewan showed this to you in the demo that he gave. It's the one authoritative source that all developers, regardless of what you're doing with ArcGIS, you'll go to the developer guide to get the information that you need. A lot of work went into that guide, and we think it's an excellent resource. And that's the ArcGIS Platform introduction session. So thanks for spending the time with us, and I think we've got time for a few questions. Okay, great. Well, thanks for taking the time to attend this session today. We're live now. Hi, I'm David Cardella. I'm joined by Ewan Cameron. And we've had a number of questions come in. Hopefully you folks can see them. I am going to remind you guys that you can vote up questions. So these questions are listed in the number of thumbs up that have been given. So Ewan, let's just get right into it. What is the difference between ArcGIS Platform and ArcGIS Online? Ewan, maybe I could take this and you could add in more information. Well, there are a few differences. I will say this: ArcGIS Platform powers much of what we do in ArcGIS Online. ArcGIS Online is built upon the same set of location services that are exposed through ArcGIS Platform. Now, one of the things ArcGIS Online has that ArcGIS Platform doesn't is a set of apps, a set of user interfaces that users can interact with while using ArcGIS Online, whether it's administration tools, sharing tools, some of the field apps. That's one difference. The other difference is that ArcGIS Online has a bit of a different business model. ArcGIS Online has both a subscription business model through user types, but also it is a subscription model through user types, but also a consumption-based model through the credit-bearing services. With ArcGIS Platform, it's purely consumption-based, and with ArcGIS Platform, accessing the location services is based on US dollars, no credit. So those are two of the big big differences: user interface slash apps, as well as business model. Ewan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that sums it up pretty much.
Okay, great. Next question from Adam. Is a developer account different than a regular ArcGIS account? I get a message when I'm signed into the developer site. I'll add that part in there with a public account. Is there a way to convert? I'd like to do that to avoid having yet another account. So right now, you can use your public account to access all of the resources and downloads on the developer site. If you want to access the services, you will need a developer account to do so. Currently, there is no way to convert, although in an upcoming release, we will have an experience in place where we will detect that and then give you the option to convert your public account to a developer account. Ewan?
Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Okay, great, thank you, Adam. This question is kind of hopped to the top. Right up your alley here, Ewan. How do I use an API key to access private content in an organization? I'm going to assume that that's an ArcGIS online organization, capital O.
Okay, so API keys, they're just another form of authentication. They're the same as an app login, same as an ArcGIS identity, sort of named user login. They're just a way of working with a token to access a service. In terms of accessing private content, and can you use private content in your using these API keys or app logins? Currently, if your data is hosted in a developer account, you can use it as a beta tester. We'll be releasing in the summer, June, July timeframe, around about the user conference, the capability of accessing private content programmatically using app logins, OAuth app logins, or API keys. But that's for content that's inside of a developer account. If you've got content inside of your ArcGIS online sort of organization, then you're restricted with your current terms to use interactive named users to access that content, and there'll be no change in that aspect of your business model. But if you do want to access content through programmatically through an API key or an app login, you need to get your content out of your ArcGIS Online org and into a developer account, and there'll be a transaction-based business model for accessing that content.
Great. Good. Next question. Can a developer company use ArcGIS Platform to host their customers' data and essentially become an application/service provider? Ewan?
I'll take that question again. So this is kind of similar to what the last question was. We said that coming in the summer, you'll be able to take private content and make it available through applications that you build. And if you as a company want to host content on behalf of your users and then serve that content out to your users, you're absolutely free to do that using ArcGIS Platform. If you want to build on top of your applications your own authentication mechanism, so you can divide up your customers into groups, that's up to you as well. That's fully available to you. But you would be using API keys or OAuth app logins to access the content within the platform. So your applications authenticate with us using our mechanisms. It's up to you what sort of authentication pattern you put on top of your own apps to your own users.
Good. Can I put a cap on the monthly bill so it doesn't cost much more than expected if suddenly your application is popular? So in the short time we've released ArcGIS Platform, we have heard this a couple of times, Ewan. And while this is not possible now, we are looking into the possibility of setting limits on a per key basis, which would allow you to control the consumption. So if you opt to enable pay as you go, you will be able to set that kind of ceiling limit. So we are thinking of the best way to implement that type of consumption control. It's not there yet. That was a really good question. Okay, here we go. You are describing ArcGIS developers as a new Esri website combining older API documentation. But what is the product of ArcGIS Platform? How does it fit into the product environment, and how is it related to ArcGIS Online, Enterprise, On-Premise Cloud? Okay, shall I?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a bit of a change for us. And when I say us, I mean the collective us, because of the way we've been speaking of ArcGIS Platform in the past. In the past, we've always referred to ArcGIS Platform as everything that ArcGIS offers: online, pro, all the apps that come with online, enterprise, all of the geo-enabled system apps that you could use, the services, everything was the ArcGIS platform. We are changing that in that we are naming our set of location services, our hosted services that power a lot of the components we've talked about in ArcGIS. We're naming that to ArcGIS platform, and we're referring to everything in ArcGIS as simply ArcGIS or the ArcGIS system, whatever is more applicable. So in terms of the relationship between ArcGIS Platform, as we know it right now, and ArcGIS Online, Enterprise, and so on, and Pro for that matter, is that much of what we do in the other pillars of the ArcGIS system is powered by the services exposed through ArcGIS Platform. Certainly that's the case with ArcGIS Online. In the case of ArcGIS Enterprise, a lot of you are combining services in your solution. So you've got your own data hosted within your own infrastructure. The release of ArcGIS Platform doesn't change that in the bit, both from a technical perspective as well as a business model perspective, but you may be mashing that data up with services that we're hosting in ArcGIS Platform. So that's the relationship there. In terms of Pro, some of you are building custom configurations, add-ins. A lot of you in doing that work are accessing the services exposed through ArcGIS Platform.
Yeah, I'll try and just say it really quickly and simply. There's the technology way of looking at ArcGIS Platform. It's a set of services. These services get exposed as standalone services, just as part of the product offering. ArcGIS Platform, they're also included in our other product offerings: ArcGIS Desktop, ArcGIS Online, and ArcGIS Enterprise, as David said. And then there's the business aspect. And ArcGIS Platform is a very different business model. ArcGIS Desktop has its own business model. ArcGIS Online has its own business model. ArcGIS Enterprise has its own business model. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah. Okay, great. This next question, I think, is very related to at least two of the other questions we answered. So I think it's been answered. What's the difference between platform, ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, and ArcGIS Pro? So does this use ArcGIS Online credits if you host your own data in ArcGIS Enterprise? So if you host your data in ArcGIS Enterprise, you are using the same business model of ArcGIS Enterprise. That doesn't change. So you're paying for cores. You're not hosting your own data within your own infrastructure and paying a consumption-based model, whether that's through credits or through US dollars. So as Ewan just mentioned, the business model of the software that you're currently using remains the business model that you're using, whether that's ArcGIS Online, Pro, or Enterprise. You and this one looks like it's up your alley here. How many API keys can we create? How many should we have? Is it necessary to have more than one? Can you give us some?
There's no restriction to the number of API keys that you create. And for each API key, you can scope it for different services. You could have one API key per service type, or you could have one API key per end user customer that you're deploying to. It's really up to you how you want to do that. We definitely would recommend, though, that you have more than one API key, because API keys, they're very easy to use. They're easy to include into your application, but often they might be included in the JavaScript code that's running in the browser, and so they could be viewed and potentially used by a third-party entity, sort of illegally, if they're able to spoof your IP address, which is the referrer there. And so we recommend that you don't create, you create multiple API keys for multiple applications, and you monitor their usage. If you see usage particularly high, more than you would expect, you could cancel out that API, create a new API key, deploy it with your application. If you want something that's more secure than that, because you don't like the idea of these long-lived tokens in effect, then you can use OAuth, and that's a lot more secure. But the overhead as a developer of working with OAuth is significant, and that's why we've added it, because a lot of the, to be honest, a lot of the competition that we have in this space, they use API keys. So we've added API keys, but you still have OAuth, and you can still have the security of OAuth if that's what you want. The choice on how you authenticate against the platform is yours.
Great. Thank you, Ewan. When ArcGIS Platform is used with ArcGIS Enterprise, how does consumption-based pricing work? So when there is that kind of hybrid model where some services, perhaps tiles, perhaps routing from ArcGIS Platform is used in an application with your data that's hosted in enterprise within your own infrastructure. Well, if your solution is an enterprise-based solution, lowercase e, in other words, used within your company to solve certain workflows and whatnot. Really, nothing changes. You have access to tiles, you have access to credit-bearing services, and you have access to your own data. And so nothing really changes there. Now, if you are a customer or an organization who has that scenario, but is deploying a commercial application, an application that generates some type of revenue, whether it be ad, whether it be sales revenue, then you're already a partner of Esri, and you have that ability to do that. So in those cases, really not much changes for you. There's no reason to migrate or to worry about changing business model or anything like that. Okay, next question. Are we able to use our current ArcGIS account as a developer account? Well, that depends. If your current ArcGIS account is a public account, the answer is no. Public accounts can't access location services. We will be providing in an upcoming release an ability to convert your public account to a developer account. That's not quite there yet. If your current ArcGIS account is an account from an ArcGIS online organization, the answer is yes. You can use those credentials to sign into the developer's site, get access to the downloads, get access to the developer experience, get access to your dashboard. So you do have all of those capabilities available to you. So I guess the answer to the question is it depends what type of ArcGIS account you're specifically referring to, and those were just two examples. If you already have ArcGIS Enterprise and ArcGIS Online, what is the benefit? Well, one of the benefits is what ArcGIS Platform provides yourselves, developers, is another way to deploy ArcGIS, or another way to access both the content and the capabilities that we expose in our location services. You can access them as a set of on-demand services, where if you've got a solution you want to just be able to use or pay for what you use without investing in an additional technology stack, you can use ArcGIS Platform to do that. So what we're doing is we're exposing the services in a way that you can easily swap in and out of your application as you see fit, without that additional need for additional technology. Ewan, do you have any?
One of the other things is maybe as a development team within an organization, if you want, and you've got different, if you like, business units within that organization, you might need more transparency on the cost that you're incurring. So with ArcGIS Platform, because it's all transaction based, and you get a sort of an itemized list of the number of transactions used by a particular key or app login, and you know the cost of that, you can pass that cost on to your internal customers, if you like, as opposed to just buying a large bucket of credits and then having to work out with a little bit more intensity how much credit consumption different applications have used. It's a little bit easier to do that with ArcGIS Platform and its transaction-based pricing.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ewan. We are starting to see that pattern. Let's see. Oh, Ewan, here we go. And someone just voted it up as we were talking. We develop extensions for asset management. Reports are so important to us and our customers. I like the reports in ArcGIS Pro, and so do our customers. They look great. How do I create something similar in ArcGIS Platform? Specifically, I'm using the .NET API. This is one piece that has held us back.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's no built-in reporting capabilities that you have with the user experience inside of ArcGIS Pro. You as a developer would have to build that on top of the content that you're hosting inside of services from ArcGIS Platform. So it's really a developer creation task, I'm afraid.
Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left, but we can get through a few more questions. Please talk about how this might be more cost-effective, a more cost-effective alternative to ArcGIS Enterprise. Ewan, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that with ArcGIS Enterprise, you're actually having to you've got to buy a set of software, you've got to host it, you've got all of that infrastructure cost. So there's a large upfront investment, and you may not actually use it an awful lot. In which case, if you're just hosting a relatively small or even large amount of content, if you host it in the platform, you pay for what you use. So you can start small, and as your content grows and as your service usage grows, then your cost will increase as well. But you don't have that upfront investment, and you don't have to manage all that infrastructure of ArcGIS Enterprise. So it's a much easier sort of on-ramp. And then at a later date, there's nothing to stop you saying, well, actually, I'm getting to the tipping point where maybe it's going to be more economical if I do go with another offering like ArcGIS Enterprise. But the choice is yours. You don't need to make that choice right at the start.
Okay. Will all access to base maps now require authentication, either by using OAuth-based authentication or API keys? The answer to that is no. Many of you who have ArcGIS Online organizations know that when you author maps, or perhaps you're building apps that extend ArcGIS Online, you have access to a set of, let's say, base map endpoints, as well as non-stored geocode or search endpoints that are not protected by authentication. There is no plan to change that, which is why when Ewan and I say if you're using ArcGIS Online, you continue to use the same business model. That's one of the reasons, or that's one of the aspects that allows you to keep doing that. All base maps require authentication? No, but base maps access through ArcGIS Platform? Yes.
Okay, the next one is Platform basically the old ArcGIS portal rebranded. No, it's not. It's clearly as a product, it's built on top of a lot of the technology that you as ArcGIS developers have been using for a number of years. A lot of the services are the same, but many of the services have been enhanced to make them easier to access as a developer, if you like, with the head taken off in terms of a user experience and just exposing the services directly. And we've enhanced a number of the services so that they work great with open source libraries as well, and not just the ArcGIS clients. So while it's based on a lot of what you've been using, it's not exactly the same. It's enhanced.
Great. There's been a battle between these next two questions in terms of being voted up, but maybe we've got time for one more. When you publish data, your own data, to ArcGIS Platform, does it get hosted in ArcGIS Online? Ewan, I'll pass to you for that.
When you publish your content to ArcGIS Platform, it gets hosted in ArcGIS Platform. And remember what David said, that ArcGIS Online sits on top of the technology stack, which is ArcGIS Platform. So although ArcGIS Online is the SaaS product that we've had for a while, it's actually powered by the services coming from ArcGIS Platform. And so your content's hosted in ArcGIS Platform.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ewan. We are now up against it, but I wanted to thank everybody for joining us for this session, and really the conference has just kicked off. So if you've got further questions, we weren't able to get to all of them, but I think what we'll do is we'll take a lot of these, we'll make them part of the Q&A in the developer site, make them available to all of you. Ewan and I will also at various times be in the Ask the Experts virtual
Yeah,
area.
I think, David, what we can do is all the questions we've not been able to answer, we'll paste them over into Ask the Experts. And so you can see your questions there, and we'll be able to type out answers, and maybe we can even spin up further discussions in that forum.
Great. Yeah, good point, Ewan. Okay, thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the conference.